Last year, Cooper and I journeyed to the mecca of Taylor guitars, the factory in California. We picked out woods for special guitars. You've seen some of those. These two represent 4 guitars we made as part of a mirror collection. We're going to tell you all about it, so stick around. Hey, you're watching Alamo Music TV. My name is Chris McKee.
I'm Cooper Greenberg.
We're here with Alamo Music in San Antonio, Texas, and you can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you're new to our channel, subscribe, turn on notifications, like our videos. If you want to support us, visit our Spring Store link below for custom swag. Check out our podcast, send us stuff, buy things from us, all that cool stuff. You can buy these. These are 2 of a kind of a 4-set-ish mirror series that we created when we were out at the Taylor factory. So you've seen some of the videos where we've shown you some of the special stuff that we made. We really took an opportunity to pick from some delightful things. And these came from inspiration of some special guitars that we'd already gotten from Taylor that we'd showed off on this channel that sold pretty much immediately. And so it was cool to do kind of a variation on that theme and create some really special guitars.
Yeah, if you saw that, it has to be 2023 now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Late 2023, there was a mirror set of a custom GA Maple, custom GA Koa, and they kind of blended those. So there was a Koa back and sides with maple binding, and then the vice versa. We love those guitars. We got, I think, 2 of each, and then they sold so quickly. I think we got another 3 or 4 of each. Very cool guitars. And when they were gone, such is the story. But when we went, we liked that idea, and we wanted to kind of switch up the wood selection a little bit. So give us the scoop.
So we have, there's 2 versions of this, by the way. These 2 are the first 2 have come in, and they feature tops made of really beautiful Bearclaw Engelmann spruce. This trip was the first time we had a chance to select from tops.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you saw the video we did on the Andy's Attic one, that was a top Andy brought in that day. We did a video recently on the Maple and Port Orford Cedar guitars that are amazing guitars with Heartwood Maple. So those were tops that we chose. And then there were 2 other tops, sets of tops, these, and then also some striped torrefied Sitka that was really unique. They haven't figured out how to replicate that yet, and we took advantage. What was neat with these tops is Andy really spent some time showing us kind of some aspects to the various pieces of Engelmann that were there to help select these specifically for these builds. So that was a fun thing. So we're starting with the top of Bearclaw Engelmann spruce, and this one has a bit of an edge burst to go with the treatment for the maple. That one is natty to complement the back and sides. You might get an idea as you peek the edges. This is Cocobolo bound, and that is flame maple bound to complement the back and sides. This one is maple with a maple neck, and that is Cocobolo bound in maple with a mahogany neck. So they are somewhat mirrors of each other, complementing one another with otherwise very, very similar specifications. That goes up to the headstock as well. So we've got a back strap on each of these that's complementary, and then that binding going up around the headstock with those go-to tuners. And very cool spoked inlay, Maple and Cocobolo.
We also picked the fingerboards on these.
We did.
So you get some character, hand-selected. We definitely did more selecting of individual parts on this trip than ever before, but there's not a ton of Cocobolo that we ever get from Taylor. I feel like when I first started here, we were seeing a lot more Cocobolo. Am I just imagining that?
No, you're not imagining that. The supply of Cocobolo seems to ebb and flow, and I have asked reasons for that repeatedly and gotten cagey answers each time. I think some of it deals with access to the woods, and whether or not it just simply makes sense to be able to pull that out, and protection of the species. I think there's a lot of things going on. But it is one of my favorite woods.
I mean, it looks insane. It's a great set.
Yeah, that was a great set that we picked out for it. It sounds fantastic. It looks fantastic. The reds and blacks and generally, nice kind of variegated figuring that's in the wood with all of that contrast. And so I really like it. I have a custom guitar used Cocobolo for the binding on that. So when it shows up like this too, it's just beautiful. It tends to have more contrast than, say, if you had gone with East Indian rosewood. Plus, if we'd done that, it really wouldn't match the whole mirror vibe that we're going with. But just as that's a really nice set, this was a really startling piece of maple that we chose and picked the top to complement these. And I think it was Andy's notion of kind of doing a vintage tint
it's
on
kind of
this.
like that antique blonde kind of thing. But, you know, it reacts somewhat differently on the maple versus the spruce, but it complements really nicely.
The Bearclaw on these is just nuts.
Yeah. And this one, if you look straight on at it, it's not the easiest to see. Then you tilt it, and it's like
all over the place.
Other thing, different, mahogany neck, maple neck. That one's glossed, but that feels like the right call on that guitar. You know, get as much maple in there as you possibly can. What is the name? Because I was talking to Josh about it. What's the name of that fingerboard inlay? Do you know off the top of your head?
Lil Buttons 2.0?
I think it's even Lil or Buttons.
No, it's I think it's not Reflections. It's Split Diamond something.
Is it the Split Diamond? But that's not the boxwood one, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Split Diamond Boxwood, and this was I think the same. This was kind of pairing.
Package. Yeah.
And I love this particular rosette. It's one of my favorite rosettes that Taylor does because it's got wood, but it's got this beautiful design that really showcases it.
Yeah.
And in this particular case, we were allowed to draw outside of the lines from what you would typically get. And so because of the idea behind these guitars, that rosette is done with maple and Cocobolo, which is
the only way to go.
Very, very cool.
So let's talk about the sound really quick because I played the same demo on both of these. They sound radically different from each other.
As they
even though
should.
They're both, GAs. So the maple, it's not bright.
Mm-mm.
It is.
That's a brighter guitar.
This is a brighter guitar for sure, but that one is so much of the note fundamental. Tells you exactly what, it's amplifying exactly what you're putting in. This one, strangely enough, that did have some nice overtone kind of ring and stuff.
Maple
you
does.
can hear it at the end, but this is like it's rosewood max. It's heavy duty.
I always think of maple as being player reflective.
Yeah.
How you play will very much be amplified, like you were saying, but it does have nice sustain and it does have some nice overtones.
Yeah.
But it is very even keeled as far as EQ goes.
Yeah.
If you I think some people get intimidated by that. I've really learned to dive into maple and love it a lot. I think it's one of the premier woods that you can select, particularly when it's built or worked with correctly, which they've done. The bracing on this is what they would typically use for back and sides of maple so that you really allow that wood to breathe instead of kind of choking it if you were to design it like a Cocobolo guitar or a rosewood guitar. Because in that case, it's got a certain amount of dampening, and then you're letting the overtones take place. You gotta have all of that tight bass of Cocobolo and all of those bell-like chimey highs.
Pay attention in the demo on the Cocobolo. First chord that I hit, you should be able to hear some harmonics just ringing out, and that was something I noticed as I was playing it. And then on that one, it was like at the end, right as I was finishing up, hit the last chord, you can kind of hear it bloom a little bit, which is just overall the sign of a well put together guitar. I feel like some woods that we talk about, it's like, that's not going to be super harmonically rich, not a ton of overtones, but when you put it together well, you can't stop a guitar from resonating how it wants to. So I think both of these, sound quality wise, they came out very balanced and pretty, just totally different EQs. Take a listen.
right, so there you have it. Let's talk about some other things that we did with this. I think affect the tone. One, we talked about they're both Bearclaw Engelmann spruce tops, and I'm a huge fan of Engelmann. We've used Engelmann on certain builds. We did a lot of those exclusive 914 CEs, which I think we have one left of that are based upon my old guitar. And what I find about Engelmann, and by the way, on those guitars, I've heard from a lot of people that purchased those. It was one of the best sounding guitars they ever played. Engelmann's a softer spruce, and it's got a bit of a rounded aspect to the lead-in for the note and the response that it gives you, but it's a spruce, and so you've got plenty of headroom still. It's not a quiet, you got all this dynamic range. I think it sounds almost like a really well played in guitar. And what I find that you'll see that on something like this with rosewood. It's unusual to see that on cedar or on maple. It's like when someone uses cedar on maple. That's unusual. And it does something to kind of open up the maple a bit more. Yeah. And I really dig it.
It's great. And I have found more and more people that are doing customs have asked specifically for non-Sitka or Adirondack because Engelmann's got its own thing that's really special. Lutz has a great thing going on, the Alpine spruce. So, you know, it's a nice way to kind of show off what slightly changing the top would, because easily these could have just been Addy top, you know, whatever, but it would be a totally different sound profile.
And, you know, when we get in the others, we'll be able to, you know, really try them and compare them. But I think the torrefied spruce is going to have a different characteristic to these, even though everything else is basically the same. The tonal response from the top on those is going to be different from these. Yeah. Probably a little louder, but probably with a little more pointed, you know, note resonance to it.
I'm excited.
Yeah. But these turned out fantastic. And I just love the nature of these. I also like that we went with the maple neck because I think that just serves the guitar very, very well, and particularly as a nice contrast with the Cocobolo. Just like the maple on this mahogany serves so well. Just beautiful guitars. And of course, got to have the armrest just because it looks killer, but also keeps your arm off the top of the guitar. Yeah. Have you noticed that playing an armrest versus non-armrest guitar?
Not dampening it by getting your arm.
Yeah, I've got a guitar with the armrest, and when I play it, it just seems like a louder guitar. And so much of that I think is my arm's just not on
not resting on the top. That's a good point.
So really cool guitars.
Yeah, and so we got one of each with Bearclaw Engelmann. We have one of each with stripy torrefied Sitka, and that's it.
That's it.
As per usual, if you see the video and you're interested, give us a call. Go on the website. There's very nice photos of both of these. If you're interested, we have the photos of the wood before it was turned into a guitar as a keepsake for you. But yeah, I think those mirror image guitars turn a lot of heads. They were very, very cool. And even if you got some of those, now you have different flavors to play with.
And these are really stellar. Like you said at the beginning, we spent more time selecting the individual components for this guitar than we typically have. And I think it shows. I mean, they turn out really, really fantastic.
And it's like, you're there. Why not get specific? You know?
Yeah, that fingerboard will go well with this particular one and so forth. So
I also I just want to throw this out there. We got the rosette, but we also got the bound sound. All right.
Bound sound hole. Get you where you need to go.
That matches. I glancing at this, I was like,
maple,
that's just part of the
maple.
rosette.
Cocobolo. Yeah, that's
a good look.
That was part of when we were specking out. I was like, yep, that's what we're going to do.
Bound sound.
You just need to get both of them. Someone out there, hang them right next to each other. Killer. So, if you know, you know.
Schwarzenegger, DeVito.
How did this one end up being Danny?
Well, because this is very strong and rigid, and that is kind but fiery.
There you go. You know? I love it. I love it. On that note, check them out on our website. If you're new to our channel, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, do all those cool things. We'll see you next time.